Yo, what's good, everybody? It's Zishan here from the Up and Under podcast. And as you can see right now, I'm by myself. My co-host Tanya isn't here, so this is gonna be something I'm gonna do once in a while, away from the kind of structured videos and episodes of our regular podcast. Make sure y'all listen to those episodes. We have a new weekly episode coming up where we break down what's wrong with the Washington Wizards and the Toronto Raptors. But back to my main point about this being it's kind of gonna be an impromptu kind of thing. Maybe me breaking down a big game, or in this case, as I'm about to talk about right now, a big trade. So this isn't gonna be anything like weekly. Again, like our regular episodes. It's just gonna be me mainly, randomly or after a big game or trade trying to give you guys some quick perspectives and give you guys some quick thoughts, kind of like unfiltered and less structured from our regular episodes. So if you guys want more of this kind of content too, make sure to hit that like button, make sure to let us know. Hopefully I'll be able to do this and Hani will be able to do this as well. And of course, we're always going to have our regular episodes, our regular show going on here. So yeah, make sure to keep supporting. Appreciate all the love over how long we've been doing this. And let's keep growing over here. So in terms of this episode, or in terms of this segment that I'm gonna do, I don't know. I think I might just title it like "Quick Thoughts" or something. But right now we got some breaking news, and as a basketball fan, I gotta be able to react on this and give you guys some of my like just straight thoughts from the trade was just announced like an hour ago, so I'm literally making this video like right on the spot right after I heard the trade. Obviously, man's have school and stuff too, so couldn't get my news as quick as other people, but I'm doing this as quickly as I can and just giving you guys a breakdown of my raw thoughts pretty much. And so the trade obviously we're discussing right now, as you guys are about to, as you guys see in the title, is the crazy James Harden trade, man. And this was something that was expected to go down, especially after the game versus the Lakers, where the Rockets just got destroyed from the beginning of the game, and the Lakers blew them out of the water. And James Harden afterwards had a lot of comments in his post game press conference. I shouldn't say a lot of comments. It was mainly some big comments, right? He talked about how he gave everything to the city, and this situation was unfixable for him. And then the reporters asked John Wall and Boogie Cousins what they thought about it, and they didn't like the attitude of James Harden, to put it lightly. And that was expected. This situation has been going on since the Russell Westbrook trade, right? From before the season started, and it was just a matter of time of whether or not, like, when the Houston Rockets would trade James Harden, and if they would maybe wait until this season was done, try to convince him to commit to the team that they have right now with John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and Christian Wood. And obviously, we saw from the beginning of the season, from before the season, that did not happen. He was not committed at all in the offseason. And then he came in, and his production has been nowhere near the James Harden numbers of putting up like 30 points a game. And in fact, in the last game against the Lakers too, he had, I think, 16 points on like not great efficiency either. So this was bound to happen, but the way it happened and just the suddenness of it, from going from last night where he was talking to reporters about how this was an unfixable situation, to literally half a day later where he's gone, right? And four teams actually have been impacted by this James Harden move, which again was also expected given how big of a contract he has, given how big of superstar he is. It was there had to be a lot of people and teams involved in this situation. So just to not make this too long, because I don't want this to be like a regular episode. I just want this to be a quick kind of clip and quick kind of thoughts on this. So just to recap the trade for you guys, the Brooklyn Nets received James Harden, The Houston Rockets received Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Rodions Kurucs, 4 first-rounders, and 4 pick swaps. So the 4 first-rounders and pick swaps actually came from Brooklyn. Dante Exum came from Cleveland. Victor Oladipo was actually traded to the Rockets in a subsequent trade, which I'm about to talk about, and Dante Exum from the Cleveland Cavaliers. In the subsequent trade I was talking about, the Pacers basically traded away Victor Oladipo to the Rockets for Karis LeVert and a second-round pick. And then finally, there was a throw-in team in this trade, and that was the Cleveland Cavaliers, who received Jarrett Allen and Taurean Prince from the Brooklyn Nets. So overall, this was a crazy trade, man. Like, it was such a huge trade in terms of all the pieces going back and forth. 4 teams involved, as I talked about. But I think we might as well start off with the Nets because, this is the biggest headline. And you got James Harden making a big 3 with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Now, we're about to see if Kyrie Irving even, what happens with Kyrie Irving, because his whole situation is, it's muddy, to put it lightly, right? The Nets possibly have a starting lineup of Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Jordan. That's a very talented lineup, man. That's a crazy, crazy lineup in terms of, you're talking about scoring, shooting. You now have 3 guys on this roster who can legit put up 50 points in a game if they wanted to. Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant. If they wanted to, similar to, I think, what they did, what Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry had in Golden State, you can have legit 3 players that average over 25 points. Now, obviously, James Harden used to average 30 points. That's not going to happen, as I'm going to talk about, in the Brooklyn Nets, because of the fact that they only have, I think this is the one sticking point for a lot of people, right? They only have 1 ball. And so it's going to be interesting to see how Kyrie, KD, and James Harden all share the ball. Not to mention the fact that you have a guy like Joe Harris, who doesn't need the ball, but he's a catch and shoot guy. He wants to, get some shots up as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to manage sharing the ball. And the thing with this trade is the fact that Brooklyn did not really need offense, man. They're already the 4th ranked offense. They have Kyrie, KD, they had Karis LeVert, and you have a guy like Joe Harris, you have TLC coming off the bench, you have shooters. Their offense was not the problem. Their main problem, and it's not even that big of a problem either, was their defense, which they're a 12th ranked defense right now, which isn't bad by any stretch. But if you want to be a contender, we all know you got to be top 10 in both sides of the ball. But again, does this trade make them a bona fide contender and bona fide championship, give them bona fide championship aspirations even more than they had before with Kyrie and KD? Yeah, it does. Now with James Harden, if you add James Harden to Kyrie and KD, that just raises your talent level to the extreme. But the problem is the fit on the court. What are you getting from James Harden? How are you going to fit the pieces? Not to mention the fact that now by trading a guy like Jarrett Allen, the Brooklyn Nets are also short on their bigs, right? They only have DeAndre Jordan at their current center spot. After that, they don't have any more bigs. But I think the one positive for the Brooklyn Nets from this trade is the fact that James Harden is still there for 2 more years. You're not getting a impending free agent. He's still going to be there for the next 2 years. So you have some time to build along with KD and Kyrie. So it's not a 1-year thing like the Clippers are technically this year. Flipping things over to Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets, I think, did great in this trade, man. We all know what their cap situation was like, what their asset situation was like with Daryl Morey. Now they were able to flip James Harden and get 4 first-rounders out of it and 4 pick swaps. So they're officially able to initiate a rebuild or a retool, sort of. Not to mention the fact that they did get a good player for this year in Victor Oladipo. And he has shown more signs of trying to become that player that he was a couple of seasons ago. Obviously, the injuries really hurt him. But, they got a nice player in Victor Oladipo to add to what they already have. And it'll be interesting to see if they want to re-sign him. If they don't, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with his contract. And then finally, the Indiana Pacers, the last significant team in this trade. I'm not gonna really talk about the Cavs because I mean it is what it is for the Cavs. But the Indiana Pacers, in exchange for shipping out Victor Oladipo, who had already been disgruntled from before and who was an impending free agent. Now you got a nice young player in Karis LeVert who has shown uh, flashes of becoming possibly an all-star in his career, right? We saw, as a Raptors fan, I saw what he did in the playoffs last year. And, you know, you're able to exchange a guy in Victor Oladipo who did not want to be there and get a young player in return who can immediately contribute to your team and hopefully develop into something more for your team. So Indiana, I think, also came away with a nice haul from this trade. Um, but yeah, man, like the James Harden trade, this whole trade for all parties involved, I think worked out well in terms of what every team was looking for. Now, again, we'll see what happens with James Harden on the court. I expect there to be some adjustment period for the Brooklyn Nets, to put it lightly, especially what's going on with Kyrie. But you know, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens, and if they can put the pieces together in time for this championship run. Obviously, we'll see what happens next season. But I think the immediate goal for Brooklyn Nets is to challenge the LA Lakers as the favorite to win this championship. I mean, overall, that's all I got for today. As I said, it's gonna be kind of a short thing. It's not gonna be like the full structured episodes that we usually have. Those will be, whenever we release this next episode. You guys will see that. But overall, man, I don't know what else to say. It's been crazy, bro. Like the season in general has been crazy. And this has just been capped off with the James Harden trade up to now. Make sure you guys follow all our social media and make sure you guys follow our episodes, our show. You guys can check it out on our official website, upandunderpodcast.com. And for all our socials, anything else, you guys can find it in the description link in the YouTube. Or you guys can, again, as I talked about, check it out on our official website, which is the central hub for our show. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you guys.